Hey board gamers, Jacqueline Friedlander here, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the game Diddly. Diddly is a family-style card game, which means it plays well with large or small groups of different ages and skill levels. It's in the same category as games you're probably familiar with, like Uno and Skip-Bo. Once you know the basic rules, it's like Uno in that there are variations and house rules that add to the fun. Diddly is suggested for 2 to 8 players, but if you have lots of friends who want to play, there are enough cards in the deck to add a 9th or 10th player. The game takes approximately 30 to 45 minutes to play depending on the number of players. If your group of friends is like mine, talking, strategizing, and taking snack breaks, it may play a little longer. This is the easiest unboxing segment ever. The game contains 104 standard size playing cards with this adorable little rule booklet. The 104 cards are broken down as follows: 80 cards numbered 1 through 10, 8 Diddly cards worth 0 points each, and then 4 cards that have special powers. There are 4 of each of those in case you're doing the math in your head. That's everything in the box. Let's learn how to play. The object of the game is to finish 5 rounds with the lowest score. I'm going to explain the basic game and walk you through how all of the special cards work. For a 2 to 5 player game, shuffle the cards and deal 8 cards to each player. Do not pick up or look at your cards. I know the instinct from playing games is to pick up your cards and fan them out in your hand, but resist the urge and leave your cards on the table. Arrange the cards in front of you in 4 columns of 2 cards each like this. This is called your board. Then, before the game begins, flip over any 2 cards of your choice and leave them in their places. Flip the top card of the draw pile into the discard pile, and then the first player begins their turn. How do you choose a starting player? Excellent question. It says in the rules that whoever owns the game gets to choose the starting player. That means if you want to be the powerful deciding overlord, you have to buy the game. This is my copy of the game, so I get to choose the starting player. I choose me, so now I take my turn. To keep your score low, you want to zero out your columns if possible. This is done by matching cards. For example, if I have a 6 right here at the top of this column, I would hope to draw another 6 to replace the card on the bottom. If I managed to do this, that column would be worth 0 points at the end of the round. On my turn, I have 2 choices. I can take the top card from the discard pile, or I can draw a card from the draw pile. Whichever card I choose to take, I have to play it somewhere on my board. I can't pick it up and then just discard it. It must go on my board. If I decide to replace one of my face-up cards, I can do that, or if I want to replace one of my face-down cards, I can do that too. Whatever I decide to replace must be discarded. It's best to think about it like this. The cards on my board aren't really my cards, since I'll end up replacing most, if not all of them. The end of the round is triggered when a player replaces the last face-down card on their board. Every other player takes 1 additional turn to finish out the round. If you still have cards on your board face down after your last turn, simply flip them over and that becomes your final board. The game is super simple. That's really all there is to gameplay. But there are a few special cards I should tell you about. The first one is easy. It's the Diddly card. Think of it as 0. It's worth 0 points when scoring. That's it. It doesn't affect any other cards. This is a Diddly half. It's also worth 0 points, but its special power is that it makes any card in the same column worth half its value rounded up. This is a Diddly Wild. Once again, as a Diddly card, it's worth 0 points, and as its name suggests, it's also a wild card that matches any card in the same column that it's played with. If it's played in a column with a 1, it matches the 1, so that column is zeroed out. If it's played in a column with a 2, it matches the 2, so the 2 is zeroed out. If it's played in a column with a 3, I'm not gonna go through all the cards. This card with a recycling symbol on it is a recycle card. Where you place this card on your board is very important because on a future turn, you have the option to replace this card with any of the cards in the discard pile. Let me show you what I mean. If I draw a recycle card on my turn and I place it above this 10, on my next turn or any future turn, instead of drawing a card like I normally would, I place the recycle card on top of the discard pile, and I hunt through it to find a 10 to zero out this column. You want to pay attention to what everyone else is discarding so you know when the card you're looking for is available. The last special card is the peek card. It's my favorite because it allows you to look at something on your board that's face down. It gives you a bit of a strategic advantage to know what one of your face down cards is. After you peek, you have to replace a card on your board with the peek card like you would on any other turn. You can even replace it with the card you peeked at if you choose to. Peek cards and recycle cards are worth 10 points each if they're left on your board at the end of a round. If you match a recycle with a recycle or a peek with another peek, it zeroes out like any other column. Now you know the basics of Diddly. But when you get your copy, I still recommend reading the rules so you have a solid understanding of how to use the special cards and how to set up and score the variations. If you can add, you can score Diddly. The cards on your board are all worth their face value when scoring at the end of a round. If you have two identical cards in a column at the end of a round, that column zeroes out and is worth Diddly. For example, this 6 matches the 6 below it, so this column is worth 0. This column has a half in it, so the Diddly half is worth 0, and the card above it is worth half its face value rounded up. Since a 9 is above the Diddly half, that would be worth 5 points. The other two columns have a 1, a 3, a peek, and a 4. The peek is worth 10, so the value of this board is 23 points. A more perfect board would look something like this. This board has two columns zeroed out from matches. The 2 above the 2 is 0, and the 10 above the 10 is 0. Then there's a Diddly, which is worth 0, a 1, a 3, and another 1. The total score for this board is 5. Diddly is one of my go-to games if I'm having a serious strategy board game night and we need a quick game to play on a break. It's also easy and fun to play with kiddos. This game has the perfect balance of luck and strategy. Where you play the special cards is important, and it's vital that you look to your right and left so that you can predict what cards may be discarded to you and try to avoid giving your neighbor something useful. If you've watched my other videos, you know I really like games that fit my purse, and this one definitely does. I highly recommend adding Diddly to your card game collection. I really like the 9-card variation of this game, and that particular variation is great as a 2 or 3 player game. This game is brought to you by game designer Clint Corley. If you want to get a copy of the game or play it online, there are some links with information about that in the description section of this video. I hope you enjoyed this Diddly overview. If you want to see my other videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. Until next time, I'm Jacqueline Friedlander. Happy gaming.